Brand disclaimer. The views and opinions expressed on this platform by individuals, callers, or invited guests are their own. The information you hear does not reflect the overall views of all parties associated with the brand. We encourage everyone to research all things heard live or via archive for edification purposes. Discretion is advised.
Don't touch that dial. You're now listening to Debate Talk Free Radio.
Help keep the show on the air. If you want to help, you can send your donation through PayPal. The email is debatetalkforyou@gmail.com or through Cash App, $Sal Showtime. Thanks for your support.
All right, is there anything that you want to let people know, any websites, any classes or upcoming project before we begin? You can do that now.
Yes, before we begin, I'd like to let everyone know, though you announced Moreh IshYah, I'm Moreh IshYah from the House of Israel of Cincinnati. Moreh IshYah is the senior elder Moreh of the House of Israel. I will be teaching in his stead tonight. So just give you that difference. I know our names sound very familiar, but we are two different people. And I'll be teaching in his stead tonight. He's unavailable. And we are the House of Israel of Cincinnati, of Ohio, located at 1907 Vine Street. We also have our conference coming up, the Restoration of the Sacred Laws of the Most High Conference, which is going to be held in St. Simon's, Georgia, St. Simon's Island, Georgia, March 12th through the 15th. You go to our website, worldgatheringisrael.org, for more information, in our Facebook page, facebook.com/HOY Cincinnati, and our YouTube page, youtube.com/HOY Cincinnati. Hallelujah. Today, or tonight rather, we're going to be dealing with the moon versus the month. And the mighty Yah, he wants us to know his truth. He wants us to know his word, and he wants us to know his commandments. In the book of Proverbs, this verse, it reads, every word of Elohim is pure. He is a shield unto them that put their trust in him. Add thou not unto his word, lest he reprove thee, and thou be found a liar. Therefore, we don't want to be found liars when it comes to doing the word of the mighty Yah. We want to be men and women of truth, servants of the Most High Yah. For Yahweh says that he liveth in truth, that his ways are truth, and that he's the Elohim of truth. And therefore, it is incumbent upon us to walk in his truth. And it says in Psalms 119, verse 142, that thy law, Yahweh, is the truth. And we're going to teach on the truth and nothing but the truth about the words of the mighty Yah. And we're going to deal with the difference of the moon versus the month. Now, many people, especially many Hebrew Israelites, believe that the month and the moon are synonymous, that they are the same thing, that they are interchangeable, that they are one and the same, that the moon is the same as the month, and the month is the same as the moon. Well, if this be the case, then the truth will show forth this fact. And how do we know the truth? If you look in the book of Genesis, the 41st chapter, because what you're going to find is that the truth is consistent. That the truth is completely and always and totally consistent. And not only is the truth consistent, but the truth is consistent with universal law. That the truth is right along with nature, what you would call nature. Yet, if it's not the truth, we'll see inconsistencies. And we're going to see what is the truth and what is not the truth. And I say go to Genesis 41, but I wanted you to go to Genesis, the first chapter. Because we're going to see, is the moon the month, and is the month the moon? But before we see that, we have to define each of these words. Each of these words must be defined, and that's what we're going to do. So, though we're on Debate Talk for You, I'm not debating anybody at the moment, but the moon and the month will have this debate. Is the moon the month, and is the month the moon? Are these the same? Is that consistent with the truth? And this is what Yahweh has said. And in the book of Genesis, the first chapter, verse 14, we're going to get a very clear definition of what the Creator called these things. In Genesis, the first chapter, verse 14 reads, and Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven to divide the light from the night, to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs and for seasons and for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth. And it was so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. So we have this greater light that rules the day, and this lesser light that rules the night, and the stars also. And what we need to see is what is this lesser light out of these two great lights. And we'll see. In the book of Psalms 136, verse 7 of Psalms 136, it reads here. To him that made great lights, for his mercy endureth forever. See, the Creator made these great lights. The sun to rule by day. And we know what the sun is. It's what rules by day. It's that great, bright light in the sky that rules the day. It allows you to see the color of the sky, the clouds. Thing is visible. It's a great light, and it rules the day. And the lesser light, for it says, for his mercy endure forever. In verse 9, the moon and the stars to rule by night, for his mercy endure forever. So we see Yah made two great lights. The greater light to rule the day, and that's the sun. The lesser light to rule the night, and that's the moon. And you know that's what that is when you look outside. The moon is at night. The sun, it's during the day. This is what the Creator made these lights for. And this is what the moon is, the lesser light. The Almighty said in the book of Psalms, the 89th chapter, verse 35. Once I have sworn by my holiness that I will not lie unto David. His seed shall endure forever, and his throne as the sun before me. It shall be established forever as the moon, and as a faithful witness in heaven. See, that's what the moon is. It's a light by night. In the book of Jeremiah, the 33rd chapter, verse 19 reads, and the word of Yahweh came unto Jeremiah, saying, and notice this says the word of Yahweh, because I know many people go by different books, read different sources of information, follow after different resources. But Yahweh is the best and only resource we need. And the word of Yah came unto Jeremiah, saying, thus saith Yahweh, if you could break my covenant of the day and my covenant of the night, that there should not be day and night in their season. See, Yah has a covenant with day, and Yah has a covenant with night. And what did he place with these covenants? You'll see that in Jeremiah 31 and 35, where it reads, thus saith Yahweh, which giveth the sun for a light by day, and the ordinances of the moon and of the stars for a light by night, which divideth the sea when the waves thereof roar. Yahweh of hosts is his name. So we see the moon again is a light by night, and the sun is a light by day. This is what the moon is, and that's what the sun is. But where here are we getting defined or told what the month is? So far, the moon is defined as a light, as Yahweh called it when he made it the lesser light. But look further in the book of Isaiah, the 13th chapter. In the book of Isaiah, chapter 13, start reading verse 9. Behold, the day of Yahweh cometh, cruel both with wrath and fierce anger, to lay the land desolate, and he shall destroy the sinners thereof out of it. For the stars of heaven and the constellations thereof shall not give their light, the sun shall be darkened, and his going forth, and the moon shall not cause her light to shine again. The moon is a light. It's what it's being squarely defined as, a light by night. Even if you go to the book of Joel, the second chapter of Joel, chapter 2. What we're doing is defining what the moon is. according to the word of Yah, not according to the Talmud, not according to the Jewish encyclopedia, not according to your rabbis and your Kohanes, your Morehs and your SARs, but according to Yahweh. And in the book of Yoel, the second chapter, we'll begin reading at verse 10, where it reads, "The earth shall quake before them, the heavens shall tremble, the sun and the moon shall be dark, and the stars shall withdraw their shining." Yeah, because it's a light. It's clear that this is what the moon is, a light. Not just any light, but the lesser of the two great lights. He said he made two great lights, the sun to rule by day and the moon to rule by night. He said the greater light rules the day and the lesser light rules the night. The moon is what rules the night. Let me show you a couple more scriptures just defining what the moon truly is, so we're not to be mistaken on what we've been taught that it is. In the same book, Yoel, in the same chapter 2, go to verse 31, where it says, no, let's go to the third chapter of Joel, and let's read verse 15. It says again, "The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining," because the moon is a light. Even in the book of Ezekiel, the 32nd chapter. Maybe Ezekiel is going to change up the whole game, and we're going to see something different. Well, in Ezekiel 32, verse 7, it reads, "And when I shall put thee out, I will cover the heaven and make the stars thereof dark. I will cover the sun with a cloud, and the moon shall not give her light." Well, there you go again. The moon is a light. Specifically, the lesser light of the two great lights. This is what the moon is. Now, wherein do we see that that's a month? If a moon is a month, how can that be so when the moon is defined as a light? Well, let's define what the month is, and then we're going to see if we can volley these words. If we can put the moon for month and the month for moon. And if we can, then maybe the moon and the month are the same. But if the truth does not line up with the moon and the month being the same, then we just have to tell the truth. Let's look at what the month is recorded as being according to the word of Yahweh, not according to your Jewish encyclopedias, your books of Yasher, your books of Jubilee, or your books of Enoch, or your books of the New Testament, or your books of your rabbis, Kohanes, Morehs, and SARs. We want to see what Yahweh has defined the month as being. And you'll find what Yahweh has defined a month as being if you look in the book of Deuteronomy, the 34th chapter. In Deuteronomy chapter 34, read where it is in verse 8. It states, or verse 7. It states, and Moses was 120 years old when he died. His eyes was not dim, nor his natural force abated. And the children of Israel wept for Moses in the plains of Moab 30 days. So the days of weeping and mourning for Moses were ended. 30 days. Well, why is that significant? Let's see what it says in the book of Numbers, the 20th chapter. Because what we're defining now is a month. In Numbers, the 20th chapter, verse 28 and 29, we'll read, and Moses stripped Aaron of his garments and put them upon Eleazar, his son. And Aaron died there in the top of the mountain. And Moses and Eleazar came down from the mountain. And when all the congregation saw that Aaron was dead, they mourned Aaron for 30 days, even all the house of Israel. 30 days. Well, they mourned Moses 30 days. They mourned Aaron 30 days. Well, let's see if there's another line, something that gives us inklings and clues into this 30-day period. What is this 30-day period? In the book of Genesis, the 7th chapter, it reads in the 11th verse, in the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, and this is Genesis chapter 7, verse 11. In the 600th year of Noah's life, in the second month, mind you, this is the very first time you'll even see the word month in the scriptures. And it don't say moon. And it says a second month. And Yahweh only made one moon. But in the second month, the 17th day of the month, the same day were all the fountains of the great deep broken up, and the windows of heaven were open. What date was given? The date that is given is the second month, the 17th day of the month. And if a moon is a month, what you mean the 17th day of the moon? That don't make sense, since Yahweh said the moon is a light by night. But nevertheless, let's move on. In the book of Genesis, the 8th chapter, it reads in verse 3, and the waters were returned from off the earth continually, and after the end of the 150 days, the waters were abated, and the ark rested in the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, upon the mountain of Ara. Which what is this letting us know? That from the second month, the 17th day of the month, unto the 7th month, the 17th day of the month, 150 days has transpired. Now, how many months occurred in that time? Easily 5. The second month to the 7th month, that's 5 months. And it was 17th of the second month, the 17th of the 7th month, 150 days, a perfect math equation, which leaves you with what? 30 days in every month. 30 days they mourned Abram. 30 days they mourned Moses. Well, how long is a month? Go to the book of Deuteronomy, the 21st chapter. Because now we define moon. Moon is the lesser light. Moon is a light by night. The moon is a light for the nighttime. But a month, let's see, in Deuteronomy 21, the 10th chapter reads, when thou goest forth to war against thine enemies, and Yahweh thy Elohim hath delivered them into thy hand, and thou hast taken them captive, and seest among the captives a beautiful woman, and has a desire unto her, that thou wouldest have her to be thy wife. Then thou should bring her home to thine house, and she shall shave her head and pare her nails, and she shall put off the raiment of her captivity from off her, and shall remain in thy house, and bewail, which is mourn, weep for, bewail her father and her mother full month. And after that thou shalt go into her, and you shall be her husband, and she shall be thy wife. A full month. How long is a full month? How long is she supposed to bewail her father? How long did Moses get bewailed for? How long was Aaron wept and mourned for? How long was every month in that 150 days? All of them are 30 days. And is there a different law for this sojourner than there is for the homeborn? Well, of course there's not. Because in the book of Numbers, the 15th chapter, the 16th verse, it simply reads here, one law and one manner shall be for you and for the stranger that sojourneth with you. So therefore, if she bewailed her father and mother a full month, and Moses was bewailed for 30 days, and Aaron was bewailed for 30 days, and we was in the ark, and the waters prevailed on the earth 150 days, from the second month on the 17th to the 7th month on the 17th. And that's 5 months. And all of those months were 30 days. And every month, 30 days. That's a full month. Then, if you look in the book of Genesis, the 29th chapter, It reads here in Genesis 29, verse 14. And Laban said unto him, surely you are my bone and my flesh. And he abode with him the space of a month. Well, what's the space of a month? That word space, when you look it up, it goes to the Hebrew word yomim or yom, which means days of a month. Not nights of a moon, but days of a month. What's the space of a month? What are the days of a month? It's 30. What about what we just read in Deuteronomy 21 and 13, where it said a full month? Well, what's full? What's a full month? If a month is a moon and a moon is a month, when is your full moon? And I know what you're going to tell me. A certain amount of days, but it's not going to be 30. But that word in Hebrew in Deuteronomy 21 and 13, it says a month of days. Even when you go to the book of 2 Kings, the 15th chapter. In 2 Kings, the 15th chapter, read verse 12 where it says, this was the word of Yahweh, which he spake unto Jehu, saying, thy sons shall sit on the throne of Israel unto the 4th generation. And so it came to pass. Shalom, the son of Yabesh, began to reign in the 9th and 30th year of Uzziah, king of Judah. And he reigned a full month in Samaria. What is that? Well, of course, it's a month of days. Full month is a month of days. And how many days? 30 days. Because that's what a month is. 30 days is what a month is. Mind you, 30 days they mourn for Moses. 30 days they mourn for Aaron. The sojourner shall bewail her father and her mother a full month. How many days is that? Well, it's 30 days because Yah's law is one. During the flood, the waters prevailed 150 days, which is 30 days plus times 5 is 150 days. Why 5? Because it was 5 months between the 2nd month, the 17th day, and the 7th month, the 17th day. That's 30 days each and every time. If there's another amount of days for a month, then just bring that scripture out. But we've scoured the entire book, and it's nowhere to be found, not in one place, not for 1 minute. But 30 days. Go to the book of Numbers, the 11th chapter. We're going to see here what Yahweh is letting us know. In Numbers, the 11th chapter, it reads in verse 18, and say thou unto the people, sanctify yourselves against tomorrow, and you shall eat flesh. For you have wept in the ears of Yahweh, saying, who shall give us flesh to eat? For it was well with us in Egypt. Therefore, Yahweh will give you flesh, and ye shall eat. You shall not eat 1 day, nor 2 days, nor 5 days, neither 10 days, nor 20 days, but even a whole month until it come out of your nostrils. A whole month. Now, if this was a moon, he would undoubtedly say something different, like not one night, not 2 nights, not 3 nights, not 1 crescent, not 2 crescents, not 3 crescents, not 1 gibbous, not 4 gibbous. But he didn't say anything that would put you in the mind space that he's talking about a moon. He said not 1 day, not 2 days, not 5 days, not 10 days, not 20 days, but a whole month. Because a month is a collection, a measurement, a space of days. And how many days? Well, 30 days. And how do we come to the conclusion that it's 30 days? Because there's no other scriptures that let us know that a month is anything shorter than 30 or longer than 30. Every scripture we see in the book that pertains to a month is 30 days. Even in the book of Numbers, the 3rd chapter. Numbers chapter 3, we'll start reading at verse 40, where it reads, And Yahweh said unto Moses, Number all the firstborn of the males of the children of Israel, from a month old and upward, and take the number of their names. I ask you, how long is a month old? Is it 28 days, like the heathens say February is? Oh, no, it's 29 days this year. Is it 28 days? Is it 29 days? 31 days? Is it 30 days? If you're asking a representative of the Almighty, if you're asking a servant of Yah, then they must only tell you what thus saith Yah. And what did Yahweh say a month is? It's only 30 days. It can only be 30 days. Lastly, on showing you what a month is, even in the book of Leviticus, the 27th chapter, where it reads in verse 6, it says, And if it be from a month old, even unto 5 years old, then thy estimation shall be of the male 5 shekels of silver, and for a female thy estimation shall be 3 shekels of silver. And why? This is for dedication to the sanctuary. And you're going by age. In a month old. How long is a month old? You need to know that. In the only scriptures, in all the scriptures, let us know that this month old is 30 days. So, to review this portion, what is the definition of a moon? Yahweh said, the lesser light out of these 2 great lights. It's a light to rule the night. It's a light for the night, a faithful witness in the heavens. It's a light. What is the definition of a month? A space of days. And what is the space of days? It's 30 days. Now, this is what Yahweh has said. It's right there in the book. I don't care if you're reading Hebrew, German, Greek, Roman, Latin, Fulani. I don't care what language you're reading. That's what Yah says. Now, if this is the truth, let it stand. But if the moon and the month are the same, then we should be able to go to the scriptures that say moon and insert month there. And it should make complete sense. And we should be able to go to the scriptures that say month and insert moon there, and it should make complete sense. So let's try that. Genesis, the first chapter. Because remember, the truth is consistent. That's why Yahweh requires 2 or more witnesses to establish the matter. That's why when Moreh IshYah taught the last time on this program, dealing with Yah's calendar, he brought forth 7 witnesses. And now we need the witnesses to determine and to establish that a moon is a month and a month is a moon. Are they synonymous, or are they 2 separate entities altogether? In the book of Genesis, the first chapter, and yes, this might become a little redundant because you're going to see a certain chord here. In Genesis, the first chapter, the 14th verse, it reads, "And Elohim said, let there be lights in the firmament of heaven, and let it divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, for seasons, for days and years, and let them be for lights in the firmament of heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. Verse 16, "And Elohim made 2 great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the month to rule the night." Does the month rule the night? Does that sound correct to you? Well, you say don't say moon there. No, it don't say moon there. Psalms 136. In Psalms 136, verse 7, reads, "To him that made great lights, for his mercy endure forever. The sun to rule by day, for his mercy endure forever. The month and the stars to rule by night, for his mercy endure forever." Does month make the month and the stars, they rule the night? So you telling me the month only rules the night? I thought the month had a day and a night in it. So the month only rules the night? Let's continue to see if you can put this month where it says moon. Is a moon and a month the same thing? You show me. Go to the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter. Because now we want to see if this is consistent. And I've already seen 2 places that we've gone to that makes absolutely no sense if you put moon for month and month for moon. In Deuteronomy chapter 4, we'll start reading at verse 19. And in Deuteronomy 4:19 it reads, "Unless thou lift up thine eyes unto heaven, and when thou seest the sun and the month and the stars, even all the hosts of heaven, should it be driven to worship them." Well, you see that doesn't make sense either, does it? It doesn't make sense to me. Does that make sense to you? Just tell the truth. And give Yahweh the praise. This don't make no sense. When you look up, you see, what does the month even look like floating around? What's the month look like in the sky? Is it a big 30? What's the month look like floating in the sky? Look in the book of Job, the 25th chapter. In Job chapter 25, you're going to see again. Can we put month where it is obviously a moon? Job 25, verse 5 reads, "Behold, even to the month, and it shineth not. The stars are not pure in his sight." The month don't shine? that? That doesn't seem to make good sense either. Maybe it works out in the book of Yoel, the second chapter. In the book of Yoel, chapter 2, we'll just look at verse 31 and see if you could put month here, and it'll make sense to you. Because we've been taught that a month is the same as a moon. In Yoel chapter 2, verse 31, it reads, "The sun shall be turned into darkness and the month into blood before the great and terrible day of Yah comes." Well, because I know many people that look at the moon, kept on saying there's a blood moon tonight, there's a blood moon tonight, every time there was a blood moon, and they weren't saying it was a blood month. It was going on during the month. What month is that blood month coming? Is this going to be one in January? There's going to be one in September? There's going to be one in March. Oh, yeah. But in the scriptures, Yahweh said, the sun shall be turned into darkness and the month into blood. Does it say month there? It says moon. And this moon, how does the month turn into blood? See, you see, it's starting to be clear when you really try to do that. But then, go to the book of Joshua, the 10th chapter. In Joshua, the 10th chapter, we'll start reading at verse 12. Then spake Joshua unto Yahweh in the day when Yahweh delivered up the Amorites before the children of Israel. And he said in the sight of Israel, Sun, stand thou still upon Gibeon, and thou month in the valley of Ayala. And the sun stood still, and the month stayed, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Oh, now, hold on. Does that make sense? If the moon and the month is the same, how does the month stay in the valley of Ayala? How does it stay there? What does that even look like? The month just staying right there? I thought the month, you had to go through a day and a night to even have months. Therefore, how is it staying there? So there's no month? A whole month just stayed in the valley somewhere? A whole month just stood still? When he told Jacob to stay with him the space of a month, did he say go to the valley of Ahala and stay there in that space? No, because a moon is a luminary. The moon is a light. It is a created object for light. That's what Yahweh made it for. It is not a month. Well, just see if you can put the moon where it says month. Just let's see that. In the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter. First verse, it says, And Yahweh spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This moon shall be the beginning of moons. It shall be the first moon of the year unto you. I thought the moon was a light. What you mean? What light? This light? How many lights are there, y'all? I thought you made two great lights. What you mean this moon is the beginning of moons? I don't understand that. No, it's not a moon. It's a month. A month is a space of days, just like a week, just like a year. Yet this moon is being perpetrated as being a month, even though a moon is a light for your night, which can't possibly be a collection or space of days. But yet, we can look even deeper to see if this is what Yahweh is trying to tell us. Look even in the book of Exodus, the 19th chapter. In the first verse, where it reads, in the third moon, because that's how you say it, right? In the third new moon, or the third moon, children of Israel were going forth out of the land of Egypt. Third moon, what is the third moon? How many moons are there? And then, especially, you need to answer that question. How many moons are there? Because if you're saying that a moon and a month are the same, and sometimes there's 13 months, you're saying sometimes Yahweh made 13 moons. And how long is this moon? Well, I'll show you how long the moon is. But you see, you can't put month for moon and moon for month. Surely you see that. But look how long a moon is in the book of Psalms 72. In Psalm 72, start reading in the 5th verse where it reads, he shall judge thy people. 5th verse says, they shall fear thee as long as the sun and the moon endure throughout all generations. Which means the moon endures throughout all generations. If the moon is 29 or 30 days, that's not all generations. In the book of Psalms 89, verse, I believe, 37, it reads, it shall be established forever as the moon. Is the month is 29 or 30 days according to most people, even though Yahweh said it's 30 days, but Yahweh said the moon is forever. Even though many people are thinking the moon is some kind of collection of days. And it can't be a collection of days because the moon is a light. And the month is a space of days. Look in the book of Isaiah, the 30th chapter. In Isaiah chapter 30, verse 26 reads, moreover, the light of the moon shall be as the light of the sun, and the light of the sun shall be sevenfold, as the light of 7 days, in the day that Yahweh bindeth up the breach of his people and healeth the stroke of their wound. How can the month be the light? How can you say in the month will be as the light of the sun when the month is a collection of days, and that's when the sun comes up every day? But the moon will be bright. Because why? Because it's a light and not a month. And a month is a space of days and not a moon. You cannot put one for the other and the other for the whatever. This is not the word of Yah. But you might think it is. And now we're ready to open the line to take questions.
All right, can you guys hear me? Radio check.
Yes, sir. We hear you.
Okay, cool. Are you guys ready for questions or?
Yes.
All right, family. So far, everybody just listening to the program. Nobody pressed number 1. But if you guys have any questions at this time, you know the number, 319-527-6239. Today's topic for those just joined in, the moon versus the month. So if you have any questions, press number 1. But so far, nobody has pressed number 1 right now. Everybody's just listening. So I guess you can bring more information out if you have, or now we can pretty much wrap it up. It's up to you. But if you have any more information, you can.
We got more. Want to make sure, give them an opportunity to ask any questions that they might have, but we can go a little further into this topic. As we were saying, the moon is a light by night, and the month is a collection of days. Therefore, how can one put the moon where a month is in a month where a moon is? These things are completely two different entities altogether. Nevertheless, we've been taught that a month and a moon are synonymous. And we've also been fooled and tricked by the heathens who have inserted this word moon where it doesn't belong. Because I know while I was speaking, you might have thought, well, it says new moon and new moon and new moon. But Yahweh didn't say new moon. In the book of Isaiah, the 66th chapter, if you go there, in Isaiah chapter 66, begin reading in verse 21. It says, and I will also take for them priests and for Levites, saith Yah. For as the new heaven and the new earth, which I will make, shall remain before me, saith Yah, so shall your seed remain. And it shall come to pass that from one in your books he'll say, new moon, to another, and from one Sabbath to another shall all flesh come worship before me. But we know that this word new moon, that's not what it says. The word is Kodesh. And the word Kodesh means month. The very first time the word month is used in the scriptures, the Hebrew is Kodesh. But why would they put new moon? Because they want you to think that the month and the moon are synonymous. That's why your concordance has it defined like that. That's why your encyclopedia has it defined like that. Just as they done changed Lord and God from the original names of Yah and Elohim, they put in this new moon. But it's not a new moon. And if so, what does a new moon look like? See, when you see this here in the book of Numbers, the 10th chapter, the 7th verse, or the 10th verse, where it reads, also in the day of your gladness and in your solemn days and in the beginnings of your months, which is Kodesh, which is Resh Kodesh. The beginning of your months, you shall blow up the trumpet. But what is the beginning of your month? Well, if a month is a collection of days, of course the beginning of your month has to be the day that that month begins. And you know the day that that month begins by counting. And you know the day that that month begins because it's a day and not a night. You don't need the moon to determine your months. Or if your months, if you just count your months, how do you know when the month begins? What's the sign? The word of Yahweh is the sign. What is the sign that Yahweh gave us? The extension of the days of a month. And how many days is it? It's 30 days. How many days is a moon? 0 days. Because a moon is the light by night. Just try to put the beginning of your moons in the scripture. Blow up the trumpet in the beginning of your moon. Well, what is the beginning of your moon? What does that look like? You will have to tell me something that is not in the book of Yahweh. Again, if you go to the book of Ezekiel, the 46th chapter, the first verse reads, "Thus saith Yahweh, the gate of the inner court that looketh toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days, but on the Sabbath it shall be open, and in the day of the new moon it shall be open." Now you know Yahweh don't lie. Yahweh don't contradict himself. Yahweh don't confuse no one. So why would he say the day, Yom, of the new moon, when he already let us know that he made a covenant with the day and a covenant with the night, and that he gave the sun for a light by day and the moon for a light by night? Now all of a sudden you got a day of the new moon? Well, what does that look like? That's why they got to tell you, well, the night before this day of the month, you got to look for that moon. And that next day is the new moon or new month. Well, if that's the case, what does the night of that moon belong to? The day that came before it or the day that comes after it? Well, you know it belongs to the day that came before it, which means that was an old day of the month, a day of the month that, well, it's a day of the month that belonged to the prior month. It didn't belong to the month coming. So you're telling me that a moon that came out at night belongs to the next month, even though it came out at the end of the month? That moon came out at the end of the month. That night belongs to that day that came before it. And how do I know that? In the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter. Because you want to establish this new moon, but no one on earth, no one in the world, no one in space, no one will ever be able to show you or show me or show anyone what the new moon looks like according to thus saith Yah. And in the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter, the 41st verse reads, "And it came to pass at the end of 430 years, even the self-same day, it came to pass that all the hosts of Yahweh went out from the land of Egypt. It is a night to be much observed for bringing them out from the land of Egypt. This is that night of Yahweh to be observed of all the children of Israel in their generation." What night? The night that they came out. But what day did that night belong to? Because that's the date. What day did that night belong to? Did it belong to the 16th or does it belong to the 15th? And if you know anything about Yah's holy days, you know that this night belonged to the 15th. And that's proven in the book of Numbers, the 33rd chapter, where it reads in verse 3, and they departed from Ramses in the first month. Is that the first moon? How many moons are there? Is it 12 or 13? What does it look like? In the first month, on the 15th day of the month, on the morrow after the Passover, the children of Israel went out with a high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians. We know that this night that we came out belonged to the 15th, which came before the night. We know that any moon that came out at that night belonged to the 15th of that month. So therefore, when is the new moon? And if the new moon is at night, then how do you know it's a new month before the month comes in? See, Yahweh says, this gate shall be shut the 6 working days and open in the Sabbath and the day of the new month, or the day of your month. But if it was actually a new moon, you would have to know before it happened, because you got to open up that gate. And the only way you can rationalize in your mind to know that it happened is that you put that prior night to tell you what the next day is going to do, and that is against the law, because Yahweh didn't give the moon for a light by day, to govern the day, to rule the day, to call the day, to call anything that has to do with the day. Yahweh gave the moon for a light by night. So this new moon being inserted into the scriptures is an insertion by the editors who happen to be heathens, who have no understanding of the word of the Most High. They're the same people that took out Yahweh and put Lord. The same people that took out God, that took out Elohim and put God. The same people that took out all the Y's and put J's are the same people that took out the word month and put new moon. Because why? Because there is no understanding in that. And the month and the moon are not synonymous. The month is defined as 30 days. The moon is defined as a light by night. And if anybody has any questions, just let us know. And if there are no questions,
yeah, hold on.
then we'll
Hold
go.
on. We do got somebody pressing number 1 at this time. We got somebody pressing number 1. Let's go to 3, 2, 1. You're live. 3, 2, 1.
Shalom, brother.
Shalom, praise the mighty Yah.
I want to, my condolences goes out to you and your loss. It's also my loss to the sister that passed away. All praises to the Most High, Yah. I want to say, I'll ask you a question. I'm glad you're having this topic again, because I spoke with the brother IshYah last week. I mean, the last time they had this debate. But what I was wanting to ask, maybe you can answer this. If I was traveling in the middle of nowhere and I got into a storm, a bad storm, and I got trapped and I was buried on, and I finally got myself out, maybe, and I don't even know the count of days. I lose count of all days communication. Now, when I come out, how would I know the day of the month, even though when it start my Shabbat, if that had happened?
You're asking how would you know when the Shabbat is if you got trapped?
Yeah, and even the and even the first day of the month, how would I know when I come out? Say, for instance, it might have been 10 days, and I don't know because I lost count because I was buried for so many days. It could be on the snow or on anything, rubble or anything. So I'm trying to find out when I come out. Like if I dig myself out, I don't lost count of all days, communication, I don't have a watch, I don't have a phone or anything. Now, if I was still stuck out there and had to be rescued, and I still wanted to serve the Most High on the Shabbat, and I want to know when the first day of the month, how would I begin to tell? I just want to know, is there any way that I would be able to know the first day of the month or when the Shabbat would start?
Yes. Yes, there's a way to know these things. And first off, you go to the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter. And in the book of Deuteronomy, the 4th chapter, it'll say in verse 29, it says, "But if from thence thou shalt seek Yahweh your Elohim, you shall find him, if you seek him with all your heart and with all your soul." When you are in tribulation, and all these things have come upon thee, even in the latter days, if you turn to Yah your Elohim and shall be obedient unto his voice. The same situation you're describing is the same situation we, as a nation of people, has been in. We've been spun around, turned around, and given a whole stock of lies. And the only thing that has given us the ability to find out who we are, what we are, when we are, where we are, is the word of the Most High. And the only way we got it was by calling on him. So you would have to seek the Most High. And if you believe the Creator, he'll guide you and give you that answer. But how would you be able to know the days or the months or the years? By looking at the sun or the moon. What would you count? What would you decipher? How would you know what it means and what it doesn't mean according to the word of Yahweh? So we have to seek the Most High if you get lost. That's how we find out what Yahweh wants us to do.
Okay, good. I just want to say, brother, the House of Cincinnati and the House of Atlanta, I know they disagree with the lights, but you teachers are such good teachers, and I'm so glad that I was led to the two different congregations. I know you guys was one with Moreh IshYah, and that's how I came in when I watched him in a debate, and I switched instantly when he had a debate with one of the two-bookers, what we call two-bookers. But I just say we're going to keep on until we get this right, because it's much, much needed. And I really, really appreciate you guys, both houses. And I'm praying to y'all that we come together with this light. Praise the mighty Yah.
Hallelujah.
All right, I appreciate the call. All right, once again, the phone lines is open, y'all. The phone lines is open. I see we got people listening on social media. On the phone line, just press number 1, and we'll add you in. Other than that, we can continue. The number is 319-527-6239. By the way, we have a debate this Friday coming up. Is Job an Edomite? 8 p.m. Eastern Time, right here on Debate Talk Radio. Make sure you tune in, and make sure you call in during the public Q&A portion of the show. All right, so nobody else pressing number 1. Everybody's, I guess, taking down their notes and they heard the lesson. Somebody pressed number 1 now. All right, let's go to the caller. Let's go to 719. You're live.
Peace and blessings to all. Can I be heard?
You're loud and clear.
Cool. Peace, Moreh IshYah, Sal, listen, audience. I have a question. I'm in agreement with you, Moreh, with that there's a difference between the month and the moon. I understand the difference. I'm also of the opinion, as far as my current research, is that a day is 30 days. It's not only 30 days, but this is my opinion and not my question for you right now. But my question is, since you teach that every month is 30 days, I have a question for you because I was doing some research on this topic a while back when you guys started first teaching it. I went to your website, and there's a calendar up there. It's called Yahweh's Calendar Year 1, correct? Moreh?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was saying that, can I be heard?
Yes, I hear you said.
Yeah, you're loud and clear.
Right.
Okay, cool.
Yes, yes.
Yeah. On calendar, on the calendars on your website called Yah's Calendar Year 1.
Yes.
I want you to explain something to us because you teach that every day. I mean, not every day. Every month is 30 days. And on your clinical system that's on your website, there's only 29 days in each month, and there's an extra day at the beginning. You refer to as the day of the month, whether like the day of the first month, day of the second month, etc., and has no numerical value. But the first day of that month starts the next day, and the end of each month is on 29 days. I was wondering, can you explain that for me? Thanks.
Yes, that's a beautiful question. On our website, World Gathering Yisrael, there is a calendar, and it shows the first year of Yahweh's 7 Sabbath of years. And yes, in the month, we have recorded what you just said. It begins with the day of the month, whether it's the day of the first month, the day of the second, the day of the third, 4th, 5th, 6th, 8th, 9th, up to 12. And then the next day is the first. Because this is how Yahweh speaks. And you know this is how Yahweh speaks because you'll read that in the book of Ezekiel. You can even read it in the book of Exodus. But in the book of Ezekiel, the 46th chapter, it said that the first verse said that the gate shall be closed the 6 working days. And in the Sabbath and in the day of the new month shall it be open. Well, that day of the new month is literally the beginning of your month. The reason there's no numerical value to it on our calendar is because Yahweh didn't put a number on it yet. Yahweh doesn't count from before things have been completed. For example, in the book of Genesis, the first chapter, you'll read in the 5th verse where it says, and Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. Many people believe that because it says evening and morning, that the day begins in the evening. Well, then when does it end? The morning? No. The reason it says that there's the evening and there's a morning, day 1, is because that day, that first day, went out in the evening. And when the next day began in the morning, day 1 was complete. That's how the Creator talks. If you look in the book of Exodus, the 12th chapter, I'll ask anyone to count these days. In Exodus, the 12th chapter, I believe it's around the 18th verse, it says, in the first month, on the 14th day of the month, at eve, you shall eat unleavened bread until the 20th day of the month at eve. Now, how many days is that, my brother? From the first month, the 14th day of the month at even, until the 21st day at even. How many days is that?
There would be there'd be a total of. Repeat the question again, because I was looking at some notes and writing some stuff down.
From the 14th day at even. It says in Exodus 12 and 18. From the 14th day at even unto the 21st day at even, we shall eat unleavened bread. And my question is, how many days is that?
That would be, is they count inclusively or exclusively?
Say that again, if you count what?
Are you counting inclusively or exclusively? I mean, yeah.
Count inclusively or exclusively. Either way, how many days is the period?
From the 14th day at even to the 21st day at even, counting inclusively, it'd be 8 days.
Right, and that's what many people believe. But the very next verse, it says, 7 days there shall be no leaven found in your houses. Now, why is it 7 days? It's 7 days because the 14th day at even is when you start eating unleavened bread, correct?
That's correct.
But it won't be a complete day until the next day starts.
I agree.
Right. So therefore, it's 7 days. It's not 8 days because it's not complete. And Yahweh deals with things that are complete. So when we made the calendar from the scriptures, we counted it the way Yah counted it. And so therefore, when you see that it's the first day of the month, you see that the month is 1 day old. Right? And therefore, the second day of the month is 2 days old. All the way up to you see the last number on that calendar is 29. On that particular day, it's 29 days old. But when that day completes itself, how many days has that month had? It had 30 days. And the very first day is the day of the month. But that day cannot be recorded as being a month, a day old, until that day is complete. And that's how we count. That's how Yah count. And that's why you might see it like that on our count.
Okay, I understand that. Okay, all right. So if I'm correct on what you're saying that the day of the new month, it has no numerical value, but the next day it begins the month. That's what you're saying? Is the first day of that month?
This is what it says in the book. No, it's the day of the month is called the beginning of the month. Yahweh called it the beginning.
So it's not the first day?
It is literally the first day, but Yahweh does not give it a number until it is complete. Because you're looking at...
I'm sorry, go ahead.
All right, stand by. His call actually does drop, so he's going to call back in. But once again, he's going to call back in. Sometimes it happens, blog talk. But once again, y'all, if you have any questions, you know that number, 319-527-6239. Press number 1, and we'll add to the conversation. Again, today's topic, the moon versus the month. The moon versus the month. I believe he is back. Hold on. Moreh IshYah, you're back?
Praise the mighty God. Can you hear me?
Okay, I can hear you. All right, go ahead. Continue. Go ahead, you can ask your question, brother.
Okay, yeah. And the reason I asked that question because okay, like for instance, like in the 7th month, right? At the first day of the 7th month, is the day of trumpets, right? And we read in Leviticus chapter 23 and verse 24. Where it reads, speak to the Israelite people this: in the 7th month, on the 1st day of the month, you should have a complete rest, etc., etc. Right? Hence, that's why I was asking, like, why is it that you would say that when the day of the 7th month, right? It has no numerical value, but it only begins or it only starts when it's completed, as if you're saying that a day only starts when it ends. If I'm incorrect, can you correct me? With this?
Yeah, what we're saying is the Creator, as he said in the book of Exodus 12 chapter, Moses, this day shall be the beginning of month.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you sound kind of low, Moreh IshYah. Sound kind of low.
Can you hear me?
All
Yeah.
right.
Sound clear?
Hear me? Yes, what I was saying is the Creator said to Moses in Exodus the 12th chapter, the first verse, that he said, this month shall be the beginning of month unto you. That this day shall be the beginning of month unto you. Called that day, that initial day, that beginning day, that first day, he called it the beginning of the month. And then, after that day had been completed, the next day, the month was 1 day old. You can liken it to having a child. You might have a child, maybe you have a nephew, anybody that's experienced the child being born. We don't say that the child is 1 day old when they come out the womb, do we? We say that this is a newborn baby. But the very next day, we say that child is 1 day old. You don't say that a child is 1 year old when they're first born. You go through the entire year, and then you say the child is 1 year old. The Most High doesn't say that it is 1 day old until it is a day old. That's why in the book of Numbers, the 30th chapter, or the 3rd chapter, the 41st verse, he said, number them that is a month old. You can't start at the beginning of the month. You have to wait until what? Until the month has actually completed itself to say that this is 1 month old. You see what I'm saying? And if you look in the book of Nehemiah, the 7th chapter, it says in the 73rd verse, so the priests and the Levites and the porters and the singers and some of the people and the Nethinim and all Israel dwelt in their cities. And when the 7th month came, the children of Israel were in their cities. So when the 7th month came, and when does the month begin? It begins in the day. That's when all months begin. So when the 7th month came, they were in their city. But the very next chapter, in the very next verse, it says in verse 1, chapter 8, and all the people who were prior in their cities gathered themselves together as one man in the street that was before the water gate, and they spake unto Ezra to bring the law of Moses and Yahweh that Yahweh commanded Israel. And this is, in verse 2 it says, and Ezra the priest brought the law before the congregation, both men and women, and all that could hear with understanding upon the first day of the 7th month. Why? Because the first day of the 7th month means that the month is 1 day old. The beginning of the month, they were in their cities. But on the first day of the month, they all came to the water gate. You can also look in the book of Numbers, the 28th chapter. In Numbers, the 28th chapter, verse 11, it says, and in the beginning of your month, you shall offer the burnt offering, 2 young bullocks, 1 ram, 7 lambs of the first year without spot. You do this in the beginning of your month. But in Numbers, the 29th chapter, the first verse, it says, and in the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no work. It is a day of blowing the trumpets unto Yah. And why? Because the day of the month and the first day of the month are two different days. The day of the month is when the month ends. The first day of the month denotes that the month is a day old. Second day of the month is that the month is 2 days old. You understand what I'm saying?
I just want to make sure I'm understanding correctly. Okay, so you're saying, okay, like for instance here, in Numbers chapter 29, speaking of the Day of Trumpets, right? So you're saying that here in the seventh month, on the first day of the month, that we shall observe this holy time after the day of the new month. Am I correct?
Yes.
Okay. So I was just calling in, to get an explanation to understand your position. Okay, thanks. I appreciate it.
Praise Mighty Yah.
All right, man. Appreciate your call. Like I said, the phone lines is open, y'all. The phone lines is open, fam. You know the number, 319-527-6239. 319-527-6239. Let's press number 1, and we'll add you in the conversation again. Today's topic, the moon versus the month. All right. Nobody else is pressing number 1 at this time. Is there anything else you want to bring out, Moreh IshYah? You can do that now, or you can pretty much end the class. It's up to you.
Yeah, one more thing. Just wanted to say one more thing. And just to recap before I say it, we define the moon, and the moon is a light by night. That's what Yahweh said. The moon is the light by night. It is the lesser light of the two great lights that he created. The moon is no more than a light. It is not a night. It is not a day. It is not the sun. It is not a year, but it is a light. Every scripture in the scriptures that speak of a moon exclusively is talking about the light by night. Anytime you attempt to put the moon where the month is, you now have an inconsistent, nonsensical reading scripture, which makes it false. And the month is defined as 30 days. The space of a month is the same as saying the days of a month, and the days of a month is 30 days. There's no scripture that denotes, implies, marks, or gives any clue that a month is 28, 29, or 31 days, but a month is only 30 days, according to what Yahweh has spoken. Also, a moon and a month is not synonymous. You cannot put month where moon is. When the Most High said that the moon will withdraw her light, you can't say that the month will withdraw her light. When the Most High said that the moon will be turned to blood, you can't say that the month will be turned to blood. Where Yahweh said that Joshua had the moon stay in the valley of Ahilan, you can't say that the month stayed in the valley of Ahilan, because the month and the moon are two different entities altogether. Also, the new moon is an inserted word or phrase in the scriptures likened to Lord, to God, to all the J's in the scriptures. There is no Lord and God. It's Yahweh and it's Elohim. There are no J's. It's not Jerusalem. It's Jerusalem. And there's no new moon. It's the beginning of your month. It's the month or the day of the month. But never does it read new moon in Hebrew. And lastly, many people believe that the word Yerayach, which is the Hebrew word for moon, and Yerah, which is a Hebrew word for month, are the same. And they're not the same. So any place where you might see the Hebrew word for moon that says Yerayach, you'll never see it say month in English. Never. But you will see two places where they tried to put Yerach, which is a month, for moon. Or one place, I should say. And that's in the book of Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter. And in Deuteronomy 33,
the Moreh IshYah, just to let you know, somebody's standing by. Press number 1 whenever you're ready.
all right, I'm going to read the scripture, then we'll go. In Deuteronomy, the 33rd chapter, in verse 14, it says, and for the precious fruits brought by the sun, and for the precious things brought forth by the moon. Well, what does the moon bring forth? What does the moon bring forth? In Hebrew, that word is Yerah, because there are different things that blossom in different months, not moons. But they inserted that there. But everywhere else where you see Yerah, it's month. But you can't say that that means moon either. Just like in the book of Exodus, the 2nd chapter, or the 1st chapter, they try to let you know that it was a month. But if you put the word moon there, just because you like to say Yerah and Yerayah is the same, then you would be in error. And that's Exodus, the 2nd chapter, where it talks about Moses being 3 months old. And you know Moses wasn't 3 moons old. But go ahead with the caller.
All right, we have like 18 minutes on the air, family. We have 18 minutes on the air. Again, press number 1, guys. It's your opportunity to ask questions live right here on Debate Talk Radio. The number is 319-527-6239. That's 319-527-6239. Then you press number 1. That lets me know that you have a question or a comment. Let's go to 513 alive.
Shalom, shalom, my beautiful brother and Moreh IshYah, and shalom to my beautiful brother Sal, and praise the mighty Yah. This is Moreh IshYah, and I just heard a comment.
Shalom, praise the mighty Yah.
Praise the mighty Yah. Very beautiful program. I appreciate you standing in for me in this time of aversion. I appreciate the shout outs to some of the brothers who sent their condolences about my wife. But great topic. And you went to the law to show the difference between the day of the month and the first day of the month. And to show clearly these are 2 different days altogether, regardless of how you count it. And if you can go back to Numbers, the 28th chapter, my first question to you is, on the beginning of the month, in Numbers, the 28th chapter, according to the law, there's certain amount of sacrifices that must be made in the beginning of every month. Mm-hmm. But this is not the same as the first day of a month. And I wanted to see if you can show that real quick.
Yes. In the book of Numbers, the 28th chapter, in the 11th verse, it says, in the beginnings of your months, you shall offer a burnt offering unto Yah, 2 young bullocks and 1 ram, 7 lambs of the first year without spot, and 3/10 deals of flour for a meat offering, mingled with oil, for 1 bullock, and 2/10 deals of flour for a meat offering, mingled with oil, for 1 ram, and several 10 deal of flour, mingled with oil for a meat offering unto 1 lamb, for a burnt offering of a sweet savor, a sacrifice made by fire unto Yahweh. And their drink offerings shall be a half of a hin of wine unto a bullock, and the third part of a hin unto a ram, and the fourth part of a hin unto a lamb. This is the burnt offering of every month throughout the months of the year. And on Numbers, the 29th chapter, and I believe that's in the second verse, it says, and in the 7th month, on the first day of the month, you shall have a holy convocation. You shall do no servile work. It is the day of blowing of trumpets unto you. And you shall offer a burnt offering for a sweet savor unto Yahweh. 1 young bullock and 1 ram, and 7 lambs of the first year without blemish.
And you can stop there because we already see the difference in the offering. At the beginning of every month, you offer 2 bullocks.
Yes.
And 2 rams. But
yes.
on the first day of a month, you only offer 1 bullock and 1 ram. And this is the law. And you can't get those 2 days mixed up in doing the law. And also, I wanted to also ask you to read Ezekiel, the 46th chapter, and what's supposed to happen in the day of the new month and the day of the Sabbath day versus what might happen on the first day of a month in the book of Exodus, the 40th chapter. So you can just read those things for me. Just to clarify and show what you've already been showing, there's a difference between the first day of a month versus the day of a month, regardless of how you count it.
Yes. And in Ezekiel, the 46th chapter, in the 6th verse, it says, and in the day of the new month, it shall be a young bullock without blemish, and 6 lambs, and a ram, they shall be without blemish. And this
that's Ezekiel 46 and 1.
Ezekiel 46 and 1 says, thus saith Yahweh, the gate of the inner court that looketh toward the east shall be shut the 6 working days. But on the Sabbath day it shall be open, and in the new day of the new month it shall be open.
Yeah, we can see clearly that language that the scriptures is using as you're reading, and you correct me if I'm wrong, that the Creator could have easily said the first day of the month, because all through the scriptures it would say the first day of the month. But here the Creator is just letting you know in the Sabbath day and the day, as the language that you're speaking, the day of the new month, the gates shall be open. Is that correct?
That's correct. Praise the mighty Yah.
But in Exodus 40, the language changed because he's talking about a different day. And if you can read that, and I'll greatly appreciate it.
And in Exodus, the 40th chapter, the 1st and 2nd verse reads, and Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, on the first day of the first month shalt thou set up the tabernacle of the tent of the congregation.
Yeah. Go ahead, brother.
Yes, I'm just saying this is the first day as opposed to the day of the month.
Well, that's all I wanted to see. You're doing an excellent job. I appreciate you, brother. It is crystal clear to me that there's a great difference between the month and the moon. And I thank you, brother. I thank Brother Sal for this program. And praise the mighty Yah. Hallelujah.
Praise the mighty Yah. Hallelujah.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. Appreciate you for calling in, brother, giving your input. All right,
Hallelujah.
so listen, I appreciate you. Nobody else pressing number 1 at this time, but we're going to be back on the air, of course. I think Moreh IshYah, you're going to be back, right, next week?
Yes, February 26th is also scheduled to bring to you Yah's Sabbath of Years. And then we also will put out a challenge to any teacher that would like to debate us on Yahweh's calendar.
All right, so you heard it right here on Debate Talk You Radio. All right, so, send me an email, I guess, debatetalkyou@gmail.com, and make sure you tune in and check out next week's Wednesday lesson, and get your pen and pads ready. But, any last words? Scott?
We just like to say praise the mighty Yah for this opportunity again to come on to Debate Talk for You blog talk program. It's greatly appreciated, and that the Most High willing, we will return again to bring more wisdom about Yahweh's signs, seasons, days, and years. If anybody wants to contact us, you can email us at HOYCINCY, that is HOYCINCY, @gmail.com. You can contact myself at 513-237-5911. And again, if anybody, any teacher, would like to debate us on Yah's calendar, then call Sal Showtime or email him so we can set this great discussion and great debate up. And until the next time, Yahweh loves you very much, and so do we. Shalom.
Welcome to the planets of debates. Debate Talk for You Radio.